InnerQuest explores various pathways through which you can connect with the infinite wisdom of the universe and apply it to personal, professional, and spiritual growth. This program, featuring accomplished practitioners, educators, and authors, is provided by Infinity Foundation, an innovative center for holistic studies and research. We invite you to share this journey with us.
Welcome to InnerQuest. My name is Jay Stone, your host for today, and our guest is Linda Kramer. Welcome, Linda.
Thank you, Jay.
Linda is a women's wellness practitioner and board-certified holistic nurse. Linda's passion and work are one and the same, a body, mind, spirit approach to optimal wellness and illness prevention. She works with women and adolescents to help them identify patterns of imbalance in 4 major areas of their life. And what are those 4 areas that you work with?
Well, hormone balance or imbalance, primarily in the areas of PMS, premenstrual syndrome, perimenopause, and menopausal issues, nutrition and weight management, coping mechanisms and stress management, and then multidimensional life satisfaction, which has to do with overall enjoyment in life and a feeling of balance and harmony.
And can you say something how that one area will have an effect, like if somebody's dissatisfied with a relationship, with their career, that it could throw their hormones out of whack?
Absolutely. We're so oftentimes, we like to categorize and compartmentalize symptoms and separate body from mind and mind from spirit, but in reality, we are completely integrated and interconnected. So anything that we think or feel affects our physiology. Any physiology affects our feelings and our thoughts, and it's completely integrated.
And how long is a typical appointment with you?
It depends on what the appointment is. Typical appointments would be 1 hour long. For initial assessments, they would be longer. It depends on what the client is looking for. For a holistic wellness assessment, taking a look at one's entire life, it's actually 2 appointments. The initial 1 hour, and then we meet again a second time for 75 minutes. For a more narrowed focus on those hormonal symptoms of imbalance or the nutrition and weight loss, that's one 90-minute session.
Now, are you using blood tests to find out the hormonal imbalance, or is it just someone discussing their symptoms? I always, in everything I do a medical history. So I always ask for current labs. Quite honestly, for hormone balance, blood levels, especially in midlife, are not very reliable. I would pursue salivary testing. However, that's not always necessary. Is that sent out to the lab, the salivary testing?
It is. And there are different ways to do it, and there are different labs to work with. There's one in particular I prefer. But that's typically not necessary. Again, especially in our culture, we like the hard data. We want numbers. But oftentimes, and usually, it's actually very appropriate and possible to treat according to the symptoms and to make those changes without the actual numbers to prove anything.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned before the show that you work at a clinic?
I share office space with about 12 other practitioners and therapists who take a holistic approach. It's North Shore Wellness Services, and that's located in Northbrook on Dundee Road.
Yeah. And do you refer out to the other practitioners there?
Absolutely, we can, and do, depending on what the needs of the client are. I also very much encourage and like to work with physicians as well. Sometimes we'll make some recommendations for women or others to have certain medical testing done, perhaps some blood work and lab work. For example, testing thyroid levels, which would be a blood test.
All right. Well, I mentioned that you're a holistic nurse. Why don't you talk a little bit about your educational background?
Educational background. Well, my bachelor's degree is in nursing.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to Aurora University.
Oh, okay.
And my master's degree is in healthcare services with an emphasis in wellness promotion.
Where did you do that study?
I did that through the California College of Health Sciences.
Mm-hmm.
And
so that's distant learning program?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
I'm a fan of that.
It worked extremely well for me. I was highly, highly motivated to get my master's degree and so much wanted to work in illness prevention and wellness promotion. And at the time, with working and at the tail end, if you will, of raising our 4 children, that was the program that worked very well for me.
Now, how does wellness prevention work within your family or a typical family?
Ooh, a holistic approach, body, mind, spirit, always and forever. I think oftentimes, and I know when I first entered the nursing profession, and quite frankly in the biomedical model, when we think of the wellness, it's typically, we think of body health, the health of the physical body. And sometimes certainly we think of mental health, and certainly depression, anxiety, and other pathologies, if you will, under that umbrella. And so, but wellness, optimal wellness, is a function of body, mind, emotion, and spirit integration. So yes, it's a matter of nutrition. It's a matter of exercise or moving one's body. It's also a matter...
Does your husband and children get that?
Get that? What do you mean by get that?
Well, do they practice, your children exercise, they watch what they eat?
Actually, yes, I'm happy to report. My youngest is now 21, he'll be 22, and yes, I'll tell you, 3 out of my 4 children work out regularly. Mm-hmm. The 4th has always, even when she was young, it'd be like, Beth, take the book out of her hand. Beth, you need to go outside and move your body. Yeah. No more reading. She was the one who loved to read. She was in the plays. Although she danced,
and
she was a dancer.
Do you find that a family that takes care of themselves, their body, mind, spirit, emotions, that it makes for more cohesiveness in the family?
Oh, I believe so. Absolutely. Because again, it's not just relationships, interpersonal relationships. Yes.
You tend to have a nice filter that you looked at your siblings and your parents.
Absolutely. And I'm not claiming that we had any kind of ideal model family. We're just like any other family. Nobody is perfect and we all have our issues, but certainly coming from a more holistic, a more healthy stance to begin with, you have a framework, a platform to build on and work from.
And your husband, does he work out too?
He does. He is so diligent. Every morning he'll set that clock and I'm like, honey, don't forget, because part of the balance is you need enough sleep. He's like, but I need to work out. So yes,
you guys work out together at all?
No.
Walking together?
We do take walks together, but our walks together are not our fitness walks. We have our different paces and our different routines. And
well, why don't you say something about your professional experience?
My professional experience. Well, I considered my first profession, if you will, to be my family. You know, my husband and I have been together over 27 years. As I said, I have 4 children.
You got 43 or 33 to catch up with Alice Sweet. So you're not even halfway there yet.
Right. I love that. Oh, she was amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that, and then in nursing, I worked in the hospital setting for 8 years, primarily with critically ill patients with multi-system failure. I also worked
in a critical ICU unit?
I did work in the special care unit, but I worked in a specialty hospital. I don't know if you've ever heard of Kindred Hospital.
No, where's it?
Okay. There are several locations. Actually, they're a corporation. They have locations all over the country. I worked at the one in Sycamore. Mm-hmm. And critically ill, multi-system failure.
Did you see a lot of the illnesses were preventable?
Oh, yet never pointing a finger at anybody or saying, you know, coulda, shoulda, woulda. But yes, Jay, that was one thing that motivated very much so the work that I do now in wanting to prevent that suffering and that pain. Yeah.